Hello, everyone. Greetings from cyberspace. Yeah, good afternoon. It's really nice to be talking to you virtually. I'm sorry I'm not talking to you as a human, but maybe next time. So thank you very much to the Arliss conference team for inviting me to speak to you today. Yay, slides work. So I'm going to talk about some of the ways in which we work with artist books here in the library and archives at Bower Ashton. Not because I'm completely biased about Bower Ashton Library, which I am. I know there's loads of other really good stuff going on out there. But, I had to limit myself to 65 slides, so I couldn't fit everything in from everywhere. So I'm going to talk about some of the ways that we have worked with artist books. So if I've worked with books with the CFPR archive and collaborated with staff in the library here, but also about some of the ways in which other artists work with their books as well. So it's not just about us. So these are our two kind of main display showcases at our library. I'll talk about some of the ways in which we exhibit artist books as well, because I know that's always a thing, isn't it? But first of all, I want to show you some work by other people. So this is a lovely installation by the artist Guy Bigland. He made it for Art, Language and Location in 2014. So Guy is an artist who works with words and measuring. He's not a systems-based artist, but he does use some systems. So this was a beautiful installation piece he made for the library at Cambridge University. So what he did was he searched the library website for all the four-letter words. So this is a really beautiful example of an artist taking kind of physical space and filling it with words from a kind of ethereal space. So as they were gathered from the website, they then become formally solid again when they enter the building. So I just think that's a really lovely way of kind of bringing the kind of online, the online search engine and the internal space together as an installation. So that's what, that's what his thing is, like recontextualizing these words. They could be permanent, but they become something else, having other conversations with themselves in the library. By the way, as well, if anyone wants a copy of the PDF afterwards, so you can make a note or look at any of the websites, I can give that to you. So this is also a beautiful book by Amir Brito-Kadour. He's just made a second edition in 2021. His original was a small book, and it was a tribute to André Tocque's night visit to the National Gallery, where the artist argued that you should be able to recognize your favorite painting by its silhouette. Well, Amir has decided that as he loves his artist books so much, and this is about his library of artist books, that you should be able to do the same thing. You should be able to recognize your favorite artist books by their silhouettes. And these are some beautiful artist books by the artist Teresa Easton. So this was a commission for Senate House Library in London for the exhibition Queer Between the Covers. So the Senate House Library exhibition was about works within their collection, but Teresa was commissioned as an artist to come in, respond to the works, and make this series of lovely artist books that were on show as part of the exhibition. So this is up close up of her Gina Barnes book. And this is Maddie and Paul Hearn's work. They've shown with us a few times at Bower Ashton Library. There was an incident involving someone trying to steal some tigers, but they did come back. So these are two amazing artists who work with found objects, with repurposing objects. So they'll go into kind of spaces and work with things that are within them. They come and work with the library as a place to kind of explore not just books, but the idea of things that might function as a book. So this is their lovely exhibition. They brought their own items with them, but also then responded to works within the collection, objects and books that were found in the library. You can also still download their book list. So their idea of what they say are things that would function as a book, you can download that from our website. This is a exhibition that's actually coming down tomorrow, no, Wednesday. So the artist Julie Johnston, who I'm sure most of you know already from her art life and library life, Julie came down, and I'll show you some pictures of her own exhibition in a minute. But this is, while she was here, she came and did a talk. We had a public talk where she was talking in person that people could zoom into. But as she arrived early, she decided that she would like to look at the book. So you can see the cabinets, our lovely colourful cabinets full of artist books there. So Julie went through and chose a selection of books that you can see in the cabinets above those that responded to the works that she'd made in response to Agnes Martin. So this was a really gorgeous exhibition that it is actually going to be a shame to take down this week. So this is Julie's show herself. So this was bookworks and poem objects. So we had pencils, badges, books, postcards, responding to works by Agnes Martin. So all of these works are also online on Julie's website if you want to find out more about them. I had to put this in because it's Chloe Spice's Library Rave self-service kit. This has been around for quite a while now. I think we have actually got a copy in our library as well if you want. So the idea is you can have a silent disco and you can take an ebook if you want to have a little party rave in the library. And this is a really interesting essay that Tate Shaw wrote for our journal, the Blue Notebook. We have actually changed the Blue Notebook, so it's all free access now. So you can actually download this from our website if you'd like to find out more about Tate's writing. So Tate is an artist, publisher of Preacher's Biscuit Books, but he's also the director of the Visual Studies Workshop in Rochester, New York. They have an amazing library and archive there of photo books and artist books from the 1970s onwards. And Tate, as a visual responder, has come up with this idea of like a blurred library, so a different way of looking at artists' books and books within their archive to kind of try and catalogue things from a visual point of view rather than an informational point of view. So it's a kind of experimental idea of looking at visual material through the eyes of an artist rather than what it factually belongs next to each other, which I think could be quite an interesting concept. And this is a little tribute we made to libraries. I'm showing you this, it's from 2018, but you can still download a PDF of the publication we made for the project. So it's a kind of an artist book about the library where we asked artists to tell us, they have one page each and they can tell us about their encounters with books in libraries. So invited different people to contribute. We made a series, we printed 500 copies and we exhibited them and gave them away in the Biblioteca Central Cantabria in Santander for the Impact Printmaking Conference. So the idea was the space was open to the public. As part of the conference, there were lots of exhibitions and things going on, so people could come along and take a copy of the book, which you can still download as PDF. And this is an absolutely amazing idea of artists working in the library. So this is the La Trobe Reading Room, which is at the State Library of Victoria in Melbourne. If you're ever there, do go and visit. It's absolutely amazing. So this is just one space within the library. And the Australian artists Gracia Harvey and Louise Jennison have produced this installation called Loot. It was originally meant to be a temporary installation, but it was so popular that it's just stayed there. And the idea is that you take a walk around the book. So they have come in as artists, they've responded to objects in the collection, so you can see kind of physical objects within the display. And the idea is that you walk around, I think I've got more, yeah, so you walk around, that's what one of them there, walking around the thing. So you experience the books as individual books, but also as a whole. And then they very kindly made this free zine for people to take away as well. So the idea was you walk around and then you take away a piece of their work at the end for the exhibition. I think you can still download the zine from their website. This was the library intervention series that Nick Norton ran at Leeds College of Art, which is really popular, pretty seminal series. And the reason I'm showing you is I still think what he's saying is very true today. So he's saying about, curating the library interventions, the idea of browsing, searching, collating, reading, recording, inventing, discovering, which is really important, connecting, engaging, and creating. I hope that good work continues everywhere. I want to tell you a little bit about some of the Barr Ashton Library residencies. So these are ones that we run, that library staff run, and I kind of help out with. The idea is that it encourages students to use the library as a creative space, but also to share their work with other students. So it's students and staff can see somebody working in the library, chat to them, find out what they're up to, and just use it as a really nice way of engaging people. So the students get an allowance of materials for the art shop. They can do whatever they like. They put in a proposal to apply to do it, and someone gets selected. The idea is that they make a piece of work or a body of work, and that they're asked to leave one example for the library collection. So I'm just going to show you some of the ones that we've done. So this was our first library artist in residence, which is Kathy Webb. So she did 20 library bookshelves, so like slight tribute to Edry Shea, but also the idea of setting those limits. So systems, again, using that idea of 20s to choose books 20 in, 20 pages in, 20 lines down. Made this lovely series of artist books, and then made this lovely little box. So they've got their own little box shelf to live inside the library. And then after she'd done that, Kathy made another book based on the library called Read and Returned. So this was in tribute to the books in the library. So the idea is that she took photographs of books that were read, but also the idea of, disorder, discovery in the library, and between the words read and read, where you can get confusion when you're talking to people as well, but also going back to Amir. So Amir's book that I showed you earlier with the night visit to the library, this was her tribute also to Amir's History of Reading, which has the same principle of paintings featuring St. Jerome, the patron saint of librarians, which are all greyed out except for the red of his robe. So this is Amir's book that Kathy was responding to. So Amir's book's in the collection. She then came back after her residency and made her second book. And Amir's a really interesting person, as well as being an artist. He's the curator of the collection of artist books at the University of Federal Minas Gerais in Belo Horizonte. Sorry about my pronunciation, which is terrible. But they've got a beautiful collection there. Amir uses the collection as a research resource. He uses it to curate exhibitions and holds symposium talks. So it's really well used space. In 2019, we had Zelda Velika and collaborating with Angie Butler. So Angie Butler works here as a researcher at CFPR, but also has been involved with library projects and with the Artist Book Club. So she and Zelda proposed a series of works based around notes that people make in the library. So what they did was they asked the shelvers and collectors or any library staff if they found a sticky note in any book that had been returned to the library, could they keep them? And then you can see that they were used to make this lovely body of work. So we had cushions, zines, a book, and a series of prints made from the project. And then we had Ben Jenner. So Ben got the worst deal of all, because Ben was selected for his residency just as we went into lockdown. So what had started as a lovely project to come in and do Islamic writing and research the books in person became an online project. So he didn't give up. Ben used the online search engine in the same way that Guy Bigland used the search engine for the four-letter words. Ben was entering words, so searching for poetry, found poetry, altered texts, mashups, and used those to make this lovely edition. So the work you can see here in the top left is the exhibition that he produced from the work. So he did most of this at home. And then bless him, so the project became a metaphor for finding love in unexpected places, of getting lost in library bookshelves. Obviously, he couldn't get lost in the library bookshelves. He had to get lost in the online catalogue, which, as we know, isn't quite the same. But he made his work, installed his exhibition, and then we had the second lockdown, and no one could visit it anyway. So that was really rubbish for Ben. But he did power through, and he made an online book which you can see. Which you can see on his video, which is linked from his website. And he did actually make a newspaper as well for his final show. So triumph over adversity. And then we've had librarians and artists, so not students or staff. So Ailish Kirby of Eek Press was CFPR's Impact 12 Artists in Residence last summer. We had an online festival of Summer of Print and Books in the run-up to the printmaking conference here in September. So Ailish came in and made work. She had a lovely exhibition, which Sean took amazing photos of, and then made this giveaway zine. So this went into every delegate pack for the conference. I have got a few left that she left with me, so if you do want one, then just drop me an email and I can post you a copy. And we've also used, so that's Ailish in the middle. She did come for Babe. So when we had Babe, the Bristol Artist Book event at Barrow Ashton last year, we used every single space possible in the building, and the special collections corner that you can see here became a really lovely intimate space. So it was a really small space. We've got what you can't see, like the sofas either side. So you can come and sit, and we had a series of 10-minute presentations by artists talking about their own books and letting people sit and handle them. So that was a really lovely small space way of sharing work, as well as the bigger talks that were going on downstairs. And in the exhibition program, we have various events going on. So Frans Barker, the Dutch artist, makes a lot of work about travel and going to kind of really isolated places. He's been twice to exhibit his work and share. So it's really nice. He quite often comes early and will sit and share all his books with the students or anyone who wants to pop in and chat about them. And then we have artists like Daniel Lahan. So he asked people to bring in their typewriters to run a day page workshop. So a day page is part of Daniel's practice that he's done every single day since he can remember, where he will take his typewriter at the end of the day and a piece of A4 paper, collage and write and draw and type a kind of response, a kind of poetic visual response to his day. So he came to the library and ran this really lovely workshop where anyone could drop in and make their own day page. So these are some of the ones that were actually made. That's a lovely one as well. And then Daniel will be back. Surprise, library staff. I haven't told anyone yet. He's coming back in November to run an erasure workshop with some of his books, where he'll be asking people to come in and erase works from his works. We've also had the printing conversation talk. So again, this is when someone is setting up their exhibition. So these were just before lockdown. So we had Tim Hopkins did an amazing exhibition from Half Pint Press, where he bought all his books, so all his recent books and all the ephemera that went into them, and had a conversation with Angie Butler, which is recorded, so you can actually listen to these on the CFPR playlist. And Katerina Kaisalika was here from New York. Luckily got home. But this was her doing a lovely live talk and handling session for any visitors. And then obviously, because I'm very biased about World of Book Night, because I love doing it so much, we quite often propose crazy ideas to the library, and everyone's very supportive. um, and so we try and kind of involve library staff, students, staff, anyone from outside. So each year we send a call out. So these are some recent ones. So from 2018, I'm just thinking about showing you ones that kind of really meant something special to the library. So this one was in tribute to China Miéville's story, Watching God. So that was a very short story, but it was about these people who lived on an isthmus. And within the isthmus was a library, an art gallery with no pictures in it because they'd all gone missing, and a museum. So it was a very small library stroke community space, in which we thought was a really lovely idea, that the library is a lovely intimate community space, and it also is a museum in some respects. It's got archives and it's an exhibition space. So we asked people to make something in response to the book. So the idea was that it contained grammar, it contained words, images, libraries, anything you wanted. And these are some of the contributions to it. We also had an Instagram page, so you can see them all online. And these are a couple of the submissions. So Ailish Kirby again, and Len McDermid on the right. He made this beautiful book, the MN Encounter, which was actually from the short story. And then we went to Weston-super-Mare Library because we could, because it's near an isthmus, and we thought it would be nice if we could film the book there. So this was a collaborative publication made by everyone. Each person sent in one piece of text or image. We had it printed, published on demand, and then we went and made this video at Weston-super-Mare Library about this book coming into the library space. And here are some of the works on display in the library, so you can just get an idea of some of that diversity of the things that were made. So we had 2D and 3D objects on these lovely adjustable shelves that were made for the library. And we framed everything as it came in to make it look a bit more like the museum and gallery space within the original story. And then because we'd gone around all the charity shops and car boot sales and got all these old framed works, so quite often the frames had works in them. So Crystal Chernachan, who was collaborated on organising it with me, we decided that we'd make some books. Why not? We make some books from the leftovers. So we cut out all the bits from the frames that we bought, and we looked at the text. So there was some leftover. Oh, sorry, it's moving by itself. The texts that were left over from the stuff that people sent in, and then we made this series of 3 books. So the book itself created 5 books in total, because there was the collaborative one. Crystal and I then did a series of 3 collaborative books between us, and then we did one more again for an exhibition in 2019. And then in 2020, we decided not to travel, but we didn't realize at the time. So Nancy Campbell, who was the original collaborator with me from the beginning on World Book Night, had just written The Library of Ice, this gorgeous book about, as she said, secretly about book arts, paper, as well as ice. But within it, it's talking about the environment, about the implications of travel. So between us, we all nominated some different books to read about travel, Seaboard's Rings of Saturn, Olga Tokarczuk's Flights, and the poem called Questions of Travel by Elizabeth Bishop, which is about staying at home and not, should we have stayed at home and thought of here? So we asked people to sit in libraries, which could be real or imaginary, and read books and travel through their imagination rather than actually travel to make something as we had done in the past. What we didn't realise as we set the brief that soon everybody would be at home and not going to any libraries at all. So we asked people to send a postcard in response to their idea of the library or travel, so where that library might be. So we had some from Saturn, for example, and some from Australia. It became a kind of mail-out exchange because what we'd wanted to do originally was to exhibit all the postcards in the library, then swap them, then send someone to someone else's, and then you can see some of these little decorated ones that we've got. So the idea that people would get somebody else's postcard and also a postcard from us as the Royal Book Night United Artists. So we ended up doing a virtual exhibition, which you can download from our website. So we had a kind of postcard album PDF that you could download, and then what it became, as Linda coined it, libraries even electronic on Magic. But having a virtual library, Bratislav Novakovsky has already done that anyway. So this, what I'm showing you, is a screenshot from his library in his virtual state of Liberland. So Liberland is obviously, it's a book state, and it's a free state. You can visit it as any person. You can go to the library within it. You can go to the town hall and other places within it, but the library is one of my favourite spaces within it. So that's just a state that Radek set up because he loves books so much that he would like to live in a book state. And this is a really recent project by Lisa Cole, who is a graduate from one of the MA courses. So Lisa graduated from MA Design course here at UE, and she's been touring this exhibition and project in various spaces. So it's been in museums and libraries, but until now, I think it's still on, just coming down next week, I think. So this is the Tiny Hat Gallery, which is a gallery for cats made by humans. So you can see down the bottom with a little cat. That's the size of the original library by the desk. So you can make a piece of work and put it in there, or you can make a piece of work that gets dispersed on the library shelf. So the ones on the library shelves are these little gorilla galleries that can be made out of a piece of A4 paper, and then you kind of strengthen it and put whatever you like in. So that's one of mine, and this is one made by Catherine Cartwright. So Catherine came to UE to run a collage day and ended up making this lovely contribution to the Gorilla Gallery on the way. So that's some of the ways artists have worked within our library. I'd like to show you some ideas of artists who create libraries themselves. So whether that's within the library space or they are actually making a physical library. This is a really interesting project by Temporary Services. It's called the Self-Reliance Library. So it's designed as a kind of self-help, alternative way of living. So, you know, when everything's going down the pan, here are some tools for you as a human being to be able to live, to survive, to make your, you know, grow your own food, make your own stuff. So I thought that was a really interesting proposition of the kind of, you know, of artists saying this is what you can do as well. So it's, as I say, it's an immersive installation because apart from the fact of putting all the books out there, they've created banners and furniture that actually make you feel as if you are within the library. So this tours around different spaces. There's a booklet that tours with the library, which obviously we can't access because it's in the library, but they have made a downloadable leaflet. So if you go to the website address on the bottom, you can actually download that, and it's got the books and what's in them and why they've chosen them. And I'm going to show you a few examples of works by Buzz Spector, the American artist who is obsessed with books. So he makes lots of work about his library. So you know, rearranging his library, obviously referencing Walter Benjamin. So he does things, you know, so these are all of his books arranged in order of the height of the spine. So I imagine Amir would have quite a hard time identifying books in his library. So this is them on one single shelf as an installation. This is an amazing exhibition that Buzz had at Washington University in St. Louis, where he was a member of staff until he retired. So these are some of his iterations over the years of how he works with books, the idea of the book as a physical space, the book as a container of knowledge, the book as an artifact that you can create sculptural works from. I just think like what a lovely exhibition that is. So these are some of the things that he does, these kind of sculptural works. So this one was for Cornell, so for Cornell University. So he got a copy from the library of every book written by staff, PhD students, and graduates of Cornell. So from anyone from the Faculty of Arts and Humanities, all of their books were brought into the library space to make this exhibition in the library gallery. And I quite liked it that when it finished, all the authors got an email from the library to say their books were ready to be returned. That was quite funny. And this is another one of Buzz's books. So he's really interested in the idea of the library, what the library means, and not just, you know, the public library. He's really interested in what other people read and what they collect. So it's kind of almost portraits of people through their books, and also using books, borrowing different books to construct different shapes and spaces that lead to those conversations or change the way that we feel about those books or we look at those books, because quite often, as you'll see in a minute, you can't, like, so on these you can't see what the books are about, so it's called double readings, but you can read, you know, you've got the ones in the shelves in the background, you can see what their spines say, but this sculpture, it's become a kind of steps of knowledge, but you can't actually see what the books are about. So it's about form and intent and possibility, I think, more than here is this book, because you can't read it. And obviously the other one is covered in plaster, so you'll never be able to open that. So again, it's about that kind of, I suppose, who controls access to knowledge, maybe as well. You know, if the library is, if you is not accessible to you, then where do you learn from? And also, again, it's, as we go on, you know, it's got the Library of Babel, so the idea of kind of, you got that miscommunication, that lost library. And speaking of which, moving seamlessly through, this is an exhibition by the artist and writer Rachel Smith. So this was an exhibition she did here at Barrow Ashton. We're back at Barrow again. Last December. It's really gorgeous exhibition. So each piece you can see is her hand drawing, painting, stenciling, or from the first page of Borges's Babel. So the idea is that she's taken the novel, she's taken a short story about an impenetrable library and made it more impenetrable. So it's, she says, like, it's a semic writing. You've got that kind of pattern of words and sentences, but you're not going to be able to read them because they don't contain any information that you can access. She sent the stuff in the post, but actually we did a really nice little launch where she zoomed in at lunchtime, and Marie and I held up her work as it was going into the cupboards so that people could come talk to her online about the project. She did a presentation, and then people could look at the books, look at the pages before they went into the display with the books. So that was really nice. And this is the American artists Leslie Muchler and Jason Urban. They do the most amazing installation print-based works. They are absolutely obsessed by libraries. They used to be in Texas. They're now based in New York. But every weekend is a trip to the library. So again, they're going back to the Library of Babel. So the idea with this one is Babel Unbound is a body of work based on the library as a kind of curated space, a performed space. So what they mean is, we go into the library and we find or look for the things that we want. So in some respects, we're collaborating with the library ourselves when we go into this thing. What they've done for this exhibition is go into the library and research any piece of writing about libraries. And then they've made these prints with the writings about libraries to make an installation about the library, which is absolutely brilliant and incredibly good looking at the same time. So that's a beautiful way for artists to work with the library. Just that idea of, what's in the catalogue, but also it's conversations about library. So you're kind of almost making a kind of ongoing, never-ending research and investigation with libraries as artists that is potentially infinite. And then they've got this beautiful kind of idea of like the book as a container in space for all infinity. This is another one. So this is Jason Urban's installation called the Formalist Library, and details of the bootleg library. So the idea of you've got this kind of monolith in the middle of the future, and then you've got all these kind of physical bootleg books, like physical printed books hidden within the wall. So you have to go in and find them. So I think like all their work is really interesting, very kind of intellectual investigations of the library. So this is what Jason is saying, that it's the idea that we move into the visible world. So as we kind of move to more online learning or more online investigations, it's looking at what the library means as a kind of structure within society, as a physical space and container for information. So I'd really recommend having a look at their work. They've got some amazing images online of their collaborations with library. And I have to show you this because it's the Bristol Art Library. So this was created in 1998. It's tiny. It travels in a trolley. You can see in that my rubbish picture screen grab down the bottom. So it's run by the artist Annabelle Other, and she has taken the library on this trolley to New York, around America, around the UK. It's toured millions of places, from hairdressing salons to community centres to going on its own seaside trip around different seaside hotels. The library's got 11,500 members. You can sign up and get a library card. And that means if the library visits somewhere near you, you can borrow one of the books, read it, and then put it back and swap it for another one. So you get your library ticket, you get a lovely little pin badge. So in 2020, it celebrated its 20th anniversary, which I think is pretty amazing. Ooh, with a commemorative pin badge edition that was made for the library and for the shop. And this is another little traveling library. So this is a traveling suitcase of hand printed books that MA Mulf made during her artist residency, which is sponsored by VARC, where she lived in High Green in Northumberland for a year working with local residents. So MA ran a series of workshops, events. They had things like Baker Pie Day, knitting days, and all these things within the community that people got involved with. And then we had all these lovely books that she made at the end. So she had it made. So there's a version on wheels that she put on her bicycle, as a little trailer on the back, that she took out cycling around various places, and then she loaned the whole box to the mobile library. So it went on tour for a year with the mobile library. And this one I really like because it kind of fluxes. So this is a library that grows every time it goes out. This is Claudia de la Torre's Questions Library. So the idea with this is that it's a library of book about which have questions in the titles. So she has these books, she puts them up as an exhibition and installation. And the idea is that the public come along and they can add books to them themselves, so it grows as it comes into different spaces. She's made 2 editions so far of catalogues, which are really artist books, the questions library catalogues. So the idea is that these are books that question each other as you go through the books. So she's devised it so that one question title will ask a question to the next one in the book. So it's kind of almost like a question questioning the next question as a unending questions. And this one I thought was like really nice. Blanca Clayton, American artist, I think. I've only recently found out about this, even though it's really old. Well, not really old, but you know what I mean. So above is 26 library books. So this is Chris Taylor, organizer of Pages, the Artist Book Friend Exhibitions Project with John McDowell. So 26 library books in a stack. Again, that's kind of almost Richet reference again then, isn't it? And then so we've got another one in 2014 of 50 library books, and you can see what's going on here now down the side. So if you look up the top, it starts with 1 flew over the cuckoo's nest, and then I can't even read the one on the bottom, but the idea is that you're counting. You can take out 50 library books, that's how many you can have. So I've taken out 50 and I've made them go from 1 to 50 in their titles as the sculpture. Very nice. And other libraries. So this is Robert Goode's Library of Truth. So again, like the questions library, it's the idea that you have all these books that have the word truth in the title. And, you know, there's so much untruth, fake news going on now. People think, well, okay, well, things that I read online might not be true, but if they're in a book, they must be true. Well, then that isn't necessarily the case so much either, is it? So it's that kind of idea of if something is physically printed, we assume it's going to be true, but actually it can be as untrue as anything that's online. Robert Goode is either on his way on the plane right now or shortly to be going to the Summer Library, which is at Street Road Gallery in the USA. So he's going to be there from July and August. This library is really lovely. So it's a fluctuating library. So Street Road is a gallery in Cochranville, USA, but it also has a little free library branch there as well. So they're very interested in books, as you can imagine. It was set up by Emily Artinian. And the Summer Library is a project that invites different librarians to come in, occupy the space and work with books and the public in a different way. So this one is by Rhonda Ike from last summer, and she's responding to trees in the county, so Chester County trees. So the book sculpture on the floor is the circumference of one of the large trees, and also doing walks out around the trees with the public. So kind of bringing in out the idea of paper, trees, back out into the environment. And I love this one as well. So this is Rachel Eng from 2021, with a lovely library of books about plants, land, and spaces within the environment. So the idea is you can take a plant from the library as well, and then in place of the plant that you take, you make a drawing or a piece of writing or a memory about your relationship to land. So that library is constantly evolving into this kind of gorgeous environmental conversation around libraries and nature and art and plants. So I'm almost done now. So this is to say, if you would like any more info, please do check out the Book Arts newsletter. It's a free download from our website. So it will have like news on exhibitions, projects, you know, artist book fairs, new artist books that have come out. So hopefully quite a good resource for library staff. One thing before I go, because I can't help myself, trying to get people to join in with stuff here. So we have birds, we have World Book Night. So we decided that World Book Night 2024 will be in praise of birds. and I'd really like to invite you to participate if you would like to. All we're asking people to do is make a postcard, so that could be text or image or both. It doesn't have to be amazingly arty. It's telling us something to do with birds. You know, this is a tribute to birds as sentinels of elements of nature. We're going to have a beautiful exhibition in the library, and then we're going to do a swap. So you would get back somebody else's postcard, but you'll also get a lovely little surprise from us for taking part. And between us, we're going to make a collaborative bibliography in celebration of birds. So that will be published as a downloadable bibliography. So I think that would be quite a nice thing. And then if there's anything I've missed, probably, or if you want to find out more about our projects, or any of the loans, so loan you books for workshops or exhibitions, or anything at all, then please do feel free to get in touch. You can email me anytime. Yeah, it'd be nice to hear from you, and hopefully we can have a little chat before we run out of time. Thank you very much.